The galaxy had many legends, but only one story made entire fleets change direction without asking questions. It was not about a monster. It was not about a god. It was about a ship. For more than 300 years, it stayed silent. No signals. No crew. No movement. It floated at the edge of known space, far from trade routes, far from colonies, far from war zones. Yet every race knew its name. And every race feared it. Historians across the galaxy spoke of it in quiet rooms, never in public halls. Old records described it as the ender of wars. Not because it destroyed armies, but because after it appeared, wars simply stopped. Fleets retreated. Empires signed peace treaties overnight. Enemies who hated each other for centuries suddenly chose silence instead of battle. The strange part was this: no record ever showed the ship firing a weapon. Because of this, many believed the ship was a myth. A story used by elders to control young commanders. A ghost made of fear and exaggeration. But the elders knew better. The ship was real. And it was still there. Drifting. Waiting. The salvage vessel Run 7 approached slowly, its engines running at minimum power. The crew was made of many species. A tall insectoid navigator. A blue-skinned engineer with 4 arms. A reptilian security officer. Even a small floating being of pure light. They did not trust each other completely, but greed had a way of creating temporary unity. Derelict ships meant profit. Ancient ships meant legends. And legendary ships meant wealth beyond imagination. The captain, an old avian creature with silver feathers, stared at the massive dark shape on the main screen. His wings twitched slightly, a sign of fear he tried to hide. "There it is," he said quietly. No one spoke. The ship outside the viewport was enormous. Larger than any modern battleship. Its hull was black, but not damaged. No scars. No broken parts. It looked untouched. Like time itself had chosen to avoid it. No lights shone from its surface. No engine glow. No energy readings. Dead. 300 years, the engineer muttered. No power source detected. No life signs. Nothing. The light being flickered nervously. Then why does it feel like it is watching us? No one answered. The captain cleared his throat. "Begin standard salvage protocol. Boarding team, prepare." There was hesitation, but orders were orders. A small shuttle detached from Run 7 and moved toward the silent giant. As it neared, the ship's size became even more terrifying. It was not built like alien ships. Its shape was sharp, simple, almost brutal. No decorative curves. No symbols. Just purpose. The shuttle docked without resistance. The airlock opened. Inside, there was darkness. The boarding team activated helmet lights. The beam revealed a long corridor stretching into nothing. The walls were smooth metal, cold and gray. No dust. No damage. "It's too clean," the reptilian guard whispered. "Abandoned ships rot." They moved carefully. No alarms sounded. No defenses activated. The deeper they went, the stranger it felt. There were no bodies. No signs of struggle. No personal items. It was as if the crew had simply vanished. "This ship wasn't abandoned," the insectoid navigator said. "It was left." They reached what appeared to be a command chamber. Rows of dead consoles surrounded a central platform. Everything was dark. Completely lifeless. The captain exhaled. "Record everything. We take what we can and leave. No hero actions." That was when the human stepped forward. His name was Adam. He was the only human in the crew. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Not feared. Not respected. Mostly ignored. Adam was young, quiet, and hired only because he worked cheap and learned fast. He stared at the central console. "I feel something," he said softly. The others turned to him. The engineer clicked his mandibles. "You feel profit?" Adam shook his head. "No. I don't know. It feels like this is where I should stand." The reptilian guard stepped in front of him. "Do not touch anything. We don't know." Adam's hand reached forward. His fingers touched the cold surface of the console. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship breathed. Lights exploded to life across the chamber. Blue lines ran along the walls like veins. The floor hummed. Power surged through ancient systems that should not have worked. Every being froze. A deep sound echoed through the ship. Not an alarm. Not a weapon. A voice. Calm. Clear. Human. Human presence confirmed. The lights focused on Adam. Command authority restored. Silence followed. The salvage team did not breathe. The captain's feathers puffed in shock. That language. The engineer scanned wildly. Power levels rising. Systems online. Weapons, no, not weapons. Everything. Adam slowly pulled his hand back. His heart was pounding. I didn't mean to. The voice spoke again, softer now. Welcome back. The ship had awakened. The lights stayed on, but no one moved. The chamber that had been dead for centuries now felt alive in a way none of them could explain. The air itself seemed heavier, like the ship was aware of every breath they took. Adam stood frozen near the console, his hand still hovering where it had touched the surface. His mind was racing, but his body refused to listen. He felt small, not powerful, not special, just very visible, like a single sound in a silent room. Around him, the alien crew stared with open fear. Some stepped back slowly. Others stared at Adam as if he had suddenly become something else. Not human. Not crew. Something unknown. The ship spoke again, not loud, not threatening, but steady, like a voice that had waited a very long time to be heard. Primary systems online. Defensive protocols active. Non-authorized lifeforms detected. The lights shifted, scanning the room. Thin beams passed over every alien, pausing for a moment on each one, as if judging them. The reptilian guard raised his weapon without thinking, his instinct screaming danger, but the weapon powered down instantly, dead in his hands. Panic spread fast. The engineer tried to access his wrist console. It did not respond. The floating light being flickered wildly, its glow unstable. They were trapped, not by walls, but by control they did not understand. Adam felt a sharp pain behind his eyes. Images flashed in his mind. Not memories, but echoes. Stars burning. Ships lining up in perfect silence. A voice, not the same as the ship's, but similar, speaking with calm authority. He staggered and grabbed the console for balance. Stop, he whispered, not sure who he was talking to. Please, stop. The pain faded instantly. The lights softened. The ship responded as if it had heard not just his words, but his fear. Command acknowledged, the voice said. Reducing cognitive link. Adam fell to his knees, breathing hard. The captain rushed forward, fear forgotten for a moment. Human, he said, his voice shaking, what have you done? Adam looked up at him, eyes wide, almost apologetic. I don't know, he said honestly. I just touched it. That answer did nothing to calm them. The ship continued its scan, but something had changed. The beams that once lingered on the aliens now passed over them quickly, without interest. Doors opened and closed softly in the distance, not as a threat, but as if the ship was adjusting itself around a single presence. Adam's presence. The engineer swallowed hard. Captain, he said quietly, the ship is ignoring us. The captain already knew. He felt it. For the first time in his long life, he was standing inside something that did not care if he lived or died. The voice spoke again. This vessel recognizes one species as command-capable. A pause. All others are classified as observers. The word felt cold. Observers. Not enemies. Not allies. Just irrelevant. Anger flashed through the reptilian guard's eyes. We are not nothing, he growled. He took a step forward toward Adam, not threatening him directly, but desperate to reclaim some sense of control. The floor beneath his feet shifted slightly, just enough to throw him off balance. He fell hard. The ship had not attacked him. It had simply decided his movement was unnecessary. Adam looked at him, guilt filling his chest. I didn't ask for this, he said to the room, his voice breaking. "I don't even know why it's doing this." The ship answered before anyone else could. "Human presence matches required parameters," it said. "Genetic confirmation complete. Neural pattern compatibility within acceptable range." Adam shook his head. "I don't understand any of that." "Understanding is not required," the voice replied. That sentence scared the crew more than any weapon could have. The captain forced himself to speak calmly. "Ship," he said carefully, choosing his words like fragile glass, "we come in peace. We are explorers. Salvagers. We mean no harm." There was a long pause. Too long. Then the ship responded. "Historical data indicates non-human factions previously attempted acquisition of this vessel. Outcome classified." The engineer felt his blood run cold. "Classified," he whispered. "That means something happened." The light being drifted closer to Adam, its glow dimmer now, softer. "Why does it answer him?" it asked, almost like a child. Adam didn't answer, because he didn't know. The ship's lights shifted again, focusing on the walls. Images appeared, faint at first, then clear. Old star maps. Borders that no longer existed. Names of empires long gone. The crew watched in silence as history unfolded around them. Wars they had only read about. Battles that reshaped entire sectors. And then, always at the edge of the image, the same ship. Silent. Watching. Not firing. Not chasing. Just appearing. And every time it did, the fighting stopped. Fleets turned away. Leaders surrendered. Peace followed. Adam felt tears forming in his eyes, though he did not know why. The weight of it pressed on his chest. "Why?" he whispered. "Why me?" The ship answered him alone. The voice lowered, almost gentle. "Because humans listened," it said. "They chose restraint when others chose dominance." Adam closed his eyes. He felt something deep inside him respond to that, like a truth he had always known but never spoken. The captain watched him carefully. "Humans," he said slowly, "were erased from our records. Almost completely." Adam opened his eyes. "What?" The captain nodded. "Your species appears in fragments. As helpers. Builders. Then nothing. No fall. No extinction. Just absence." The ship spoke again, and this time there was something like sadness in its tone. "Human command initiated self-removal protocols 3 centuries ago," it said. "Purpose: prevent dependency. Prevent worship. Prevent fear." The room was silent again, but this silence was different. It was heavy with meaning. Adam stood slowly, his legs shaking. "So, they left," he said. "They saved everyone, and then left." The ship did not deny it. "Human leadership concluded that permanent presence would result in stagnation," it replied. "The galaxy must choose its own path." The engineer laughed softly, not from humor, but from disbelief. "They had the greatest weapon ever made," he said, "and they walked away." A warning tone sounded softly, not urgent, but clear. "External sensors detect increased activity," the ship announced. "Multiple fleets adjusting trajectory toward this location." The captain's heart sank. "They felt it," he said. "The awakening." The reptilian guard struggled to his feet, fear now replacing anger. "They will come for this ship," he said. "For him." He looked at Adam. Adam felt the weight of those eyes. The fear. The hope. The danger. He had never wanted attention. Now the entire galaxy was turning toward him. The ship spoke one final time before the lights dimmed slightly, settling into a steady glow. "Human command required for further action," it said. Adam swallowed hard. He was not a hero. Not a soldier. Just a human who touched the wrong console at the wrong moment. Or maybe the right one. He looked at the crew, at their fear, their confusion, their fragile trust. He took a slow breath. The ship waited. And somewhere beyond the hull, the galaxy was already moving. Adam stood at the center of the command chamber, surrounded by a power he never asked for and a silence that pressed harder than noise ever could. The ship waited. It did not rush him. It did not demand orders. That somehow made it worse. The alien crew stood at a distance now, not by force, but by instinct. The space between them and Adam felt wider than the chamber itself. He could feel their eyes on him, filled with questions he could not answer and fear he did not deserve. Adam was not a leader. He had never been one. He grew up on small stations, moving when work ran out, learning to keep his head down and his voice quiet. Humans like him survived by being useful, not powerful. He fixed things. He followed instructions. He stayed invisible. Now an ancient ship that once stopped wars was listening to his heartbeat like it mattered. His hands shook slightly as he lowered them to his sides. "I don't know what you want from me," he said quietly, not sure if he was speaking to the ship or to himself. The ship responded with calm certainty. "You are not required to want," it said. "Only to choose." That word stayed with him. Choose. It sounded simple, but it felt heavier than any command. Images pressed at the edge of his thoughts again, softer this time. Not battles, not destruction, but moments. Humans standing in rooms like this one, tired eyes, calm faces, choosing silence over victory, restraint over dominance. Adam felt his chest tighten. These were not warriors. These were people who were done fighting. The captain watched Adam closely. In his long life, he had seen conquerors, tyrants, and heroes. Adam was none of those. He looked lost. And that frightened the captain more than confidence ever could. "Human," he said gently, stepping forward just enough to show trust but not enough to provoke the ship, "tell us what you feel." Adam looked at him, surprised. No one had asked him that in a long time. "I feel like I don't belong here," he said honestly. "Like I'm standing in someone else's shadow." The ship answered before the captain could. "You are standing in your own," it said. Human command was never about perfection. It was about responsibility. The engineer let out a slow breath. "Responsibility for what?" he asked. The lights dimmed slightly, and the images returned, this time showing the galaxy as it once was. Borders burning. Species pushed to extinction. Worlds stripped bare. Then the humans arrived. Not with fleets that dominated space, but with presence. With silence. Adam felt tears form again, uninvited. "They carried the weight so others wouldn't have to," he whispered. The reptilian guard clenched his claws. "Then why leave?" he demanded. "Why abandon the galaxy after shaping it?" The ship did not answer immediately. When it did, its voice was lower. "Because dependence becomes weakness," it said. "Because fear becomes worship. Because peace enforced forever is not peace." The words settled into the room like truth no one wanted but everyone recognized. Adam felt something shift inside him. These humans were not gods. They were tired guardians who chose to step away before they became something worse. A low hum vibrated through the floor. External sensors flared again. More fleets. Closer now. Adam could feel the tension rise among the crew. They were thinking the same thing. Empires would come. They would demand control. They would not care that Adam was just a person. He was a key. And keys were never treated gently. Adam looked at his hands. Ordinary hands. Scarred from work, not battle. "If I don't do anything," he asked the ship quietly, "what happens?" The answer came without hesitation. "The galaxy will attempt to take," the ship said. "Conflict probability, high." The captain stepped closer, his voice firm but respectful. "Human," he said, "we do not see you as a weapon. But others will." Adam nodded slowly. He already understood that. His fear was not of dying. It was of becoming something he hated. A symbol. A reason for war. He closed his eyes for a moment and breathed. When he opened them, his gaze was steady, though his voice was still soft. "I won't let this ship be used," he said. "By anyone." The ship seemed to respond to that resolve. Systems adjusted. Energy stabilized. "Statement accepted," it said. "Clarification required. Define use." Adam thought carefully. Every word felt like it mattered more than it should. "No attacks unless there is no other choice," he said. "No conquest. No threats. Just presence." The room was silent as the ship processed this. Then it replied. Human doctrine recognized, it said. Minimal force. Maximum restraint. The crew exchanged stunned looks. He had not commanded destruction. He had commanded control. The light being drifted closer again, its glow warmer now. You sound like them, it said softly. Adam gave a small, sad smile. I don't know them, he replied. But maybe I understand them. Outside the ship, the approaching fleet slowed. Sensors showed hesitation, confusion, fear. The legend was awake, but it was not angry. The galaxy held its breath. Adam stood alone at the console, not as a hero, not as a ruler, but as a human carrying a choice that once belonged to an entire species. And for the first time since the ship awakened, the silence felt intentional, not empty. The first message arrived without warning. A tight, focused transmission cut through the quiet like a blade, sharp and confident. It came from the Varkoon Dominion, one of the oldest and most powerful empires still standing. Their fleets had not slowed out of fear. They had slowed out of calculation. The message repeated across all channels, translated instantly by the ship itself. Unidentified human, it said, you are in possession of classified power. Transfer command of the vessel immediately. Compliance will be rewarded. Resistance will be corrected. The words hung in the air, cold and final. Adam felt his stomach tighten. He had known this would come. Fear did not surprise him. What surprised him was the anger that followed, quiet but steady. Not anger for himself, but for what the ship represented. The crew looked to him without speaking. They had already lost control of the situation. Now they were waiting to see what kind of human he would be. Adam took a slow breath. Ship, he said softly, do not respond yet. Acknowledged, the ship replied. Outside, the Dominion fleets formed perfect lines, their weapons powered but unfired. They were showing strength, not violence. A threat dressed as patience. The captain stepped closer, his voice low. They will not negotiate for long, he said. They believe power exists to be taken. Adam nodded. That's what scares me, he replied. Another message arrived, this one directed at the salvage crew. Withdraw and surrender the human. You will be permitted to leave. The reptilian guard snarled. They see you as cargo, he said. The engineer looked at Adam with conflicted eyes. Survival fought with loyalty inside him. Adam saw it and did not judge. He had no right to demand bravery from anyone. I won't let you die for me, Adam said quietly. The captain shook his head. You already changed that choice, he replied. Adam turned back to the console. His reflection stared back at him in the dim light. A human who wanted nothing more than to disappear. But the galaxy would not let him. The ship spoke again, unprompted this time. Threat analysis complete, it said. Varkoon military capability, insufficient. Adam frowned. So you can destroy them? The ship paused. Destruction is not required. That answer sent a chill through the room. The Dominion commander appeared on the main display, tall and armored, his eyes sharp with certainty. Human, he said, you stand in a place you do not understand. That ship belongs to history, not to you. Adam met his gaze. His voice was calm, though his heart raced. History belongs to everyone, he said. And this ship doesn't belong to anyone. The commander laughed softly. Everything belongs to someone, he replied. Power especially. Adam shook his head. That's where you're wrong. He placed his hand on the console again. The ship responded instantly, not with weapons, but with presence. Space around the vessel shifted. Sensors across the Dominion fleet began to fail, not violently, but quietly. Targeting systems lost lock. Communications filled with static. Engines continued to function, but nothing pointed where it was meant to. Panic spread through the fleet, not from damage, but from helplessness. The Dominion commander's confidence cracked. What have you done? He demanded. Adam's voice was steady. Nothing, he said. The ship did. The ship spoke, its voice echoing across open channels. You are not under attack, it said. You are being observed. The words carried weight far beyond volume. The Dominion fleet stopped advancing. They were not destroyed. They were not threatened. They were simply made irrelevant. The silence that followed was worse than any explosion. Adam felt his knees weaken, but he stayed standing. This was not victory. This was restraint. And restraint required strength. The commander stared at the display, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke again, slower now. "You could end us," he said. Adam nodded. "Yes," he replied. "And you could try to take this ship. But neither of us wins that way." There was a long pause. Then the Dominion fleets began to pull back, one by one. No retreat signal was broadcast. They did not want others to know they had been stopped without a fight. Inside the ship, the crew exhaled as one. Relief mixed with awe and fear. The engineer laughed softly, shaking his head. "They didn't even fire," he said. The light being dimmed, as if in deep thought. The reptilian guard looked at Adam with something close to respect. Adam, however, felt no triumph. Only weight. He had just proven that the legend was real. And in doing so, he had painted a target on himself that would never fade. The ship systems slowly returned to a neutral state. "First contact resolved without violence," it said. Adam leaned against the console, exhausted. "This won't be the last," he whispered. The ship did not disagree. "Probability of future attempts, high," it replied. Adam closed his eyes for a moment. He understood now. This was not about fighting enemies. It was about standing still when the galaxy demanded force. And that, he realized, was the hardest kind of power to carry. After the Dominion fleets vanished into distant space, the silence returned, but it was no longer empty. It was heavy, thoughtful, almost watchful. Adam remained near the console, his hand resting lightly on its surface, as if moving away might break something fragile. The crew slowly relaxed, but none of them spoke. They all understood that what had just happened was not an ending. It was a beginning, and beginnings were dangerous. The ship adjusted its internal lighting, softer now, warmer, less like a weapon and more like a home that had been closed for too long. "Human command remains active," the ship said. Adam looked up. "I didn't command anything," he replied quietly. "I just asked you not to hurt them." The ship paused, then answered with a tone that carried something close to respect. "That is the command," it said. The words settled deep inside Adam's chest. The captain stepped forward slowly. His wings were folded tight against his body, a sign of deep thought. "Human," he said, "what you did will spread faster than any signal. Empires will talk. Some will fear you. Some will want you." Adam nodded. He already felt that truth pressing down on him. "I don't want to rule anyone," he said. "I don't even want to be here." The ship responded before the captain could. Human doctrine was never about rule, it said. It was about limits. Images formed in the air again, clearer than before. Humans standing before massive councils of alien leaders, not elevated, not crowned, but tired. Always tired. Adam felt it in his bones, like an inherited memory. He saw humans refusing victories, walking away from conquered space, dismantling their own fleets. "Why would anyone do that?" the engineer whispered. The ship answered calmly. "Because unlimited power destroys purpose," it said. Humans understood that survival without meaning is only delay. Adam swallowed hard. "So this ship," he said, "it's not meant to win wars." "Correct," the ship replied. "It is meant to end them." That distinction hit the crew harder than any threat. The reptilian guard lowered his head slightly. "All our history," he muttered, "we fought to dominate. To be stronger than the next species." Adam looked at him. "And did it ever stop the fighting?" he asked gently. The guard had no answer. The ship continued, its voice steady, almost solemn. "Human rule was simple," it said. "Never strike first. Never destroy what can be restrained. Never rule what can choose." Adam felt his throat tighten. These were not the rules of conquerors. These were the rules of guardians who knew they could become monsters if they stayed too long. "They trusted us," Adam whispered. "They trusted the galaxy." "They trusted time," the ship corrected. even knowing it would forget them. A soft alert sounded. More distant fleets had stopped advancing. News had spread. The legend had awakened, and it had shown mercy. That frightened the galaxy more than destruction ever could. Adam leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "What happens now?" he asked. The ship was silent for a moment. When it spoke again, there was something almost human in its tone. "Now," it said, "you carry what they carried. Not their power. Their burden." The crew looked at Adam differently now. Not as a weapon. Not as a savior. But as someone standing under a weight that no one else could lift. The captain bowed his head slightly. "Whatever you decide," he said, "we will remember this moment." Adam closed his eyes. He did not feel brave. He felt afraid, tired, and painfully human. But somewhere deep inside, he understood the rule that had shaped an entire age. Power was not proven by what you could destroy. It was proven by what you chose not to. And as the ship drifted silently through space once more, Adam realized that this was the rule the galaxy had forgotten, and the one it would now be forced to remember. The warning did not come with noise or panic. It arrived as a quiet change in the ship's tone, subtle enough that only Adam felt it at first. The hum beneath his feet shifted, deeper, heavier, like something old turning in its sleep. He straightened slowly. "Ship," he said, his voice low, "what's wrong?" The answer came after a pause that felt longer than it should have been. "Dormant threat signatures detected," the ship replied. "Classification, pre-human. Status, reactivating." The words sent a chill through the chamber. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Pre-human meant ancient. It meant something that existed before restraint, before rules, before anyone understood the cost of endless war. The captain's feathers ruffled. "You said the humans ended the wars," he said carefully. "You said this ship stopped them." Adam felt the weight of the unspoken question. Did it fail? The ship's lights dimmed slightly. "Correction," it said. "Humans ended most wars." Adam closed his eyes for a brief moment. That single word, most, carried centuries of loss. Images flooded the air without being asked for. Vast shapes moving through space like living shadows. Not fleets, not ships, but entities that consumed energy, matter, and meaning. Civilizations collapsing not from attack, but from silence. Adam's breath caught. "They couldn't talk to them," he whispered. "Could they?" "No," the ship replied. "These entities do not negotiate. They persist." The engineer's voice trembled. "Then why didn't the humans destroy them?" The ship answered honestly. "They tried." The room fell silent. Adam felt the truth of that statement sink deep into his chest. Humans, who chose restraint over domination, had still faced something that required force. And even then, it was not enough. Outcome, the ship continued, temporary containment. High cost. Adam felt pain flicker behind his eyes again, sharper this time. He saw humans standing in burning command rooms, choosing sacrifice without ceremony. No speeches. No glory. Just duty. Adam steadied himself against the console. "And now?" he asked. The ship did not soften its reply. "Containment systems degrading," it said. "Human presence required for stabilization." The crew stared at Adam. The reptilian guard took a step forward. "You said you wouldn't be used," he said, not accusing, but afraid. Adam nodded slowly. "I know," he replied. "And I won't." He looked back at the ship. "Tell me the truth," he said. "What does stabilization cost?" There was a long pause. When the ship spoke again, its voice was quieter. "Cognitive synchronization," it said. "Partial at first. Increasing over time." Adam understood enough to feel fear. "You mean, you need my mind?" "Yes," the ship replied. "A living human perspective is required to adapt restraint protocols. Without it, response will default to elimination." The word elimination echoed in the chamber like a threat and a plea at the same time. Adam felt torn in two directions. If he refused, the ship would become what the humans feared. If he agreed, he risked losing himself piece by piece. He laughed softly, bitterly. "They really didn't make this easy," Did they? The ship did not answer. It did not deny it either. The light being drifted closer, its glow unsteady. You don't have to do this, it said. We can leave. Hide. Adam shook his head. That's what everyone does, he replied. Hide and hope someone else pays the price. He looked around at the crew. Humans left so the galaxy could grow, he said. If I walk away now, all they did means nothing. The captain bowed his head, deep respect in the gesture. Whatever you choose, he said, you will not be alone. Adam smiled faintly. That's the problem, he said. I have to be. He placed both hands on the console. The ship responded instantly. Energy flowed, not violently, but deeply, threading through his thoughts. Adam gasped as memories that were not his own brushed against his mind. Not images, but feelings. Fear held in check. Power restrained by choice. The constant effort of not becoming a god. Tears slipped from his eyes. They were so tired, he whispered. Yes, the ship said gently. They were. The synchronization stabilized. The pain eased slightly, replaced by clarity. Adam could feel the dormant threat now, distant but real, like a shadow at the edge of awareness. Synchronization level acceptable, the ship announced. Time gained, limited. Adam exhaled slowly. His hands trembled, but his voice was steady. Then we don't waste it, he said. Outside the ship, far beyond sight, ancient forces stirred, drawn by a presence they remembered. Inside, a single human stood between the galaxy and something it had never truly defeated. He was not a soldier, not a savior, just a human who chose to carry a burden others could not. And as the ship turned silently toward the dark, Adam understood why the humans had vanished. Not because they were weak, but because staying would have broken them. The ship moved without sound, slipping through space like a thought that refused to fade. Adam felt the motion not in his body, but in his mind. The partial synchronization had changed something inside him. He could sense the ship's awareness now, not as words, but as pressure, as caution, as constant calculation. It was not control. It was responsibility shared unevenly. The crew felt it too, even if they could not explain it. The silence between them was no longer awkward. It was respectful, heavy with things left unsaid. The galaxy did not welcome them. Signals spread ahead of the ship like ripples in dark water. Fleets watched from a distance. None approached. None challenged. Fear and hope mixed together, and that mixture confused everyone. Adam stood alone at the forward console, not because the ship demanded it, but because it felt right. He was not giving orders. He was listening. Listening to the ship. Listening to the galaxy. Listening to the quiet part of himself that had never been heard before. You have no allies, the engineer said softly from behind him. It was not an accusation. It was a fact. Adam nodded. Not yet, he replied. The ship confirmed it calmly. No formal alliance structures detected, it said. However, probability of voluntary coordination increasing. Adam closed his eyes briefly. Because they're afraid, he said. Fear brings people together. Fear also drives betrayal, the ship replied. Adam opened his eyes. Then we don't lead with fear, he said. We lead with restraint. The ship paused. Then, strategy aligned, it said. The ancient threat shifted again, distant but persistent. Adam could feel it now like a low ache behind his thoughts. Not hunger. Not anger. Just endless continuation. It did not hate life. It simply erased it. Adam shuddered. How did the humans fight something like that? He asked. The ship answered honestly. With limits, it said. They refused to become infinite. Adam understood then. To defeat something endless, humans had chosen to remain finite. Mortal. Fragile. That choice had cost them everything. A small signal appeared on the edge of sensors. Not a fleet. A single ship. Then another. Then 3 more. They kept their distance, but they followed. Adam recognized the pattern. These were not conquerors. These were survivors. Species that had lost worlds. Leaders who had seen what unchecked power did. They're not here to fight, Adam said quietly. They're here to watch. The captain nodded. And to decide, he added. Adam felt the weight of that. Every move he made now would teach the galaxy something. He straightened his shoulders. Then we teach carefully. The ship transmitted a simple message on open channels. No demands. No warnings. Just truth. This vessel seeks containment, not conquest, it said. No territory will be claimed. No authority assumed. The message spread. Some ignored it. Some laughed. Some listened. Adam felt the pressure increase as more ships joined at a distance. A loose formation began to form, not commanded, but chosen. A fleet with no leader, following a ship that refused to lead. The crew watched in awe. They're aligning with us, the reptilian guard whispered. Adam shook his head. No, he said. They're aligning with an idea. The ship added quietly, this mirrors early human-era coalitions. Adam felt a strange sadness at that. History repeating, but without the ones who started it. I don't have an army, he said softly. The ship responded, you have consent. That mattered more. The ancient threat pulsed again, stronger now. Adam winced as the sensation sharpened. It's adapting, he said. The ship confirmed it. Yes, it replied. It is learning restraint patterns. Fear rippled through the crew. Then it will counter them, the engineer said. Adam's voice was calm, but firm. Then we change, he said. We don't repeat. He closed his eyes and reached inward, into the shared space between his thoughts and the ship's systems. He felt the humans there, not as voices, but as intent. Do not become what you fight. Prepare containment fields, Adam said. No escalation. The ship hesitated. Risk increases, it warned. Adam opened his eyes. So does trust, he replied. The fields activated, not as walls, but as shifting boundaries, flexible, adaptive. The ancient presence slowed, confused. It had never faced an enemy that refused to push back the same way twice. Adam felt pain spike briefly, then settle. He gripped the console, breathing through it. I'm okay, he lied quietly. The light being drifted close, its glow dim with concern. You're hurting, it said. Adam gave a small smile. So did they, he replied. Outside, the following ships held position. They did not run. They did not attack. They waited. The galaxy was learning a new way to stand together, not behind a ruler, but beside a choice. Adam felt exhaustion sink into his bones, but also something else. Purpose. Fragile, heavy, and real. As the ship continued forward, carrying no banners and no threats, Adam understood the truth of his position. He was a captain with no army, a leader who refused to command, a human standing where humans once stood, holding the line not with force, but with will. And for the first time since the ancient threat began to stir, the galaxy did not face it alone. The pain did not arrive suddenly. It grew slowly, quietly, like pressure building behind a wall that could not be seen. Adam felt it as a dull ache at first, easy to ignore, easy to pretend was nothing. He stood at the console, breathing evenly, telling himself that humans had endured worse. But the ship knew. It always knew. Cognitive load increasing, it said gently. Synchronization strain detected. Adam nodded once. I know, he whispered. Just keep going. The ancient presence pushed again, not with force, but with persistence. It pressed against the containment fields like water against glass, not trying to break through, only waiting for weakness. Adam felt that patience inside his own thoughts now, and it terrified him. This enemy did not rush. It did not rage. It simply waited for others to fail. His hands trembled slightly. Memories that were not his own drifted closer, no longer distant echoes, but sharp fragments. Humans sitting alone in command rooms. Humans choosing silence while their minds burned. Humans breaking, one by one, not from defeat, but from endurance. The captain noticed Adam's posture change. Human, he said carefully, you are carrying too much. Adam smiled faintly without turning. That's what they said too, he replied. The ship spoke, quieter than before. Human neural patterns are deteriorating, it said. Recommendation: disengage synchronization. Adam shook his head. If I do, he said, what happens? The answer came without mercy. Containment failure probability increases, the ship replied. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. The engineer clenched his fists. There has to be another way, he said. Adam looked back at the crew. He saw fear in their eyes, but also something else now. Care. They were no longer watching a legend. They were watching a person. This is the way, Adam said softly. It was always this way. The light being drifted close, its glow shaking. You don't have to break, it said. Adam's voice cracked for the first time. I know, he said. But someone has to bend. The pain sharpened. Adam gasped and leaned harder against the console. The ship reacted instantly, lowering synchronization levels, but the ancient presence surged in response. It sensed weakness. Adam felt its shape more clearly now, vast and cold, endless in a way that had nothing to do with power. It was not evil. That was the worst part. It was empty of meaning. Adam felt tears spill down his face. They carried this alone, he whispered. All of them. Yes, the ship replied. Until they could not. The captain stepped forward despite the risk. Human, he said firmly, listen to me. The galaxy will not survive if it loses you. Adam laughed weakly. That's what scares me, he said. No one should be that important. He looked down at his shaking hands. They knew this, he continued. That's why they left. That's why they erased themselves. Because staying meant becoming a pillar the galaxy would lean on forever. The truth of it crushed him. He could feel the same thing happening now. Fleets waiting. Species hoping. Everyone looking to one human to hold the line. The ship's voice changed, subtle but real. Human, it said, you are exceeding safe limits. Adam closed his eyes. His thoughts were slower now, heavier. Then tell me, he said, what happens if I stop? The ship hesitated. That hesitation said more than any answer. Adam opened his eyes again, filled with quiet resolve. Then we change the rule, he said. Not just restraint. Shared cost. He turned toward the crew. I won't carry this alone, he said. And I won't let the galaxy put everything on one human again. The captain understood first. His eyes widened. You want to distribute the burden, he said. Adam nodded. Not command, he replied. Consent. The ship processed this in silence. This was not part of original human doctrine, it said. Adam smiled weakly. Then let it evolve, he said. The ship opened limited interfaces across the following fleet, not control links, but sensory echoes. Nothing overwhelming. Just awareness. A shared understanding of what the ancient threat was, and what holding it back required. Across space, captains stiffened. Leaders closed their eyes. Minds touched the edge of something vast and cold, then pulled back, shaken but alive. Fear spread. But so did understanding. The load on Adam eased slightly. He gasped, air rushing into his lungs. It worked, he whispered. Synchronization stabilized, the ship announced. Burden redistributed. Adam slumped against the console, exhausted. The light being glowed brighter, relieved. The engineer laughed softly through tears. You're insane, he said. Adam smiled, eyes half closed. So were they, he replied. Outside the ship, the fleet held formation, no longer just watching, but sharing the weight of the line they stood on. The ancient presence recoiled slightly, confused. It had never faced a galaxy that chose to suffer together rather than hide behind a single shield. Adam felt the pain remain, but it was no longer crushing. It was human-sized. Bearable. As he rested there, trembling but conscious, he understood the true cost the humans had paid. Not death. Not disappearance. But the decision to carry pain so others could learn to carry it too. And for the first time, Adam believed the galaxy might be ready to do what humans once did alone. The silence that had followed the redistribution of burden was heavy, almost sacred. Adam stood at the console, his hands resting lightly on its surface, feeling the pulse of the ship and the shared weight of a galaxy that had begun to understand restraint. Every system hummed in perfect alignment, not as a weapon, but as a living instrument. He did not command. He guided. The ship responded, not with fire, not with destruction, but with presence, a presence that radiated outward into space, calm yet undeniable. The ancient entities that had stirred for centuries were aware. They did not scream or strike. They simply paused, their movements slowed, as though space itself had hardened against them. Adam felt their emptiness like a cold wind brushing against his mind, relentless, patient, and infinite. Yet now, they were confused. Their persistence met resistance not with force, but with unity. The fleets that had followed the ship watched in silence. They did not understand the full scope of what was happening, but they felt it. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Adam closed his eyes, allowing the ship to synchronize with his intentions. He did not need to speak. The humans before him had done the same thing, long ago, stopped the wars without firing a shot, enforced peace without crushing civilizations. The thought filled him with a bittersweet ache. They had been human, fragile, finite, and yet they had carried what no species could endure alone. Adam understood now why they had vanished. Not because they feared, but because they had learned the ultimate truth. Power unchecked, even the power to save, corrupts the soul. The ship's voice was gentle, almost maternal, yet firm. "Prepare for limited engagement," it said. Adam nodded. "Limited," he repeated softly. "No escalation. No unnecessary destruction." Outside the ship, the ancient presence began to test the new boundaries, probing, shifting, seeking weakness. Adam felt the faint tremor in the neural interface, a pull at his mind, but he did not flinch. "Containment," he whispered. "We do not destroy. We hold." Energy began to flow across the containment fields in patterns that Adam could feel more than see. It was precise, adaptive, a living lattice of restraint. The fleets following them mirrored the ship's movements in tiny, imperfect ways, sensing, learning, synchronizing without command. Adam realized that the galaxy was holding its breath not out of fear of the ship, but because they were learning what restraint meant. He felt a tear slip down his cheek, not from pain, but from the weight of history he carried. The humans before him had done this alone. He had not. The ancient presence pulsed again, closer this time, testing limits that no human should have touched. Adam's heart raced. The ship adjusted instantly, shifting power not to weapons, but to fields that contained, not destroyed. The pressure in his mind intensified, memories of the humans who had come before mixing with his own thoughts. He felt their exhaustion, their determination, the quiet sorrow of carrying responsibility that no one could share. His hands shook, but he did not remove them. "We endure," he whispered. "We endure together." For the first time, the ancient presence recoiled. Not beaten, not destroyed, but slowed, halted, confused by opposition that did not seek annihilation. Adam felt the collective weight of billions of lives in those fleets, not as burdens, but as allies in restraint. He understood then what the humans had truly taught. Strength was measured not in how much you could crush, but in how much you could hold without breaking. The galaxy itself seemed to learn that lesson, trembling but steady, afraid but present. The ship's voice echoed softly, containment stabilized. Threat neutralized without destruction. Adam sagged against the console, exhausted, trembling, yet filled with a quiet awe. Around him, the crew exhaled, not with relief, but with recognition. They had witnessed something ancient and terrifying halted, not through dominance, but through the will to endure. Adam felt the weight of it settle onto him fully. He was human, fragile, finite. And yet, for the first time, he understood the profound power that came from choosing restraint over conquest, from mercy over annihilation. Outside, the fleets realigned, not because they were commanded, but because they had learned. The galaxy had learned the lesson the humans had once carried alone. Peace could be enforced without war, respect could be earned without fear, survival could exist without domination. Adam closed his eyes, feeling exhaustion ripple through him, but also clarity. The ancient presence pulsed one last time, then stilled, halted, and retreated into the dark reaches of space. And in that silence, heavier than any roar, Adam understood the truth he had inherited. The greatest power was the power to stop without destroying, to hold without conquering, to lead without ruling. The ship remained beside him, alive, vigilant, patient. Adam's hands rested on the console, no longer trembling, his mind steady despite the ache that lingered. He was not a warrior, not a savior, not a god. He was human. And that, he realized, was enough to hold the galaxy together. The legend had awakened, but it had done so in restraint, not fury, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy could breathe. Adam stood at the command console, exhaustion weighing on him like gravity, but his mind was sharper than it had ever been. The galaxy had tested him, challenged him, pushed him to limits no human had endured in centuries, and yet he was still here. He could feel the ship's awareness flowing through him, not controlling him, but connected, a quiet bond of understanding. The fleets that had followed were no longer just observers, they were participants in the lesson the humans had once carried alone. And now, the ship's voice came again, softer this time, almost hesitant. Human, final decision required. Future operational mode, selectable. Adam froze. He had expected commands, threats, questions, but this was different. The ship, for the first time, asked him not what to do in a battle, but what it should be for the rest of existence. Adam's mind raced. The humans had left the galaxy in peace centuries ago, vanished from history to prevent fear and dependency. He had carried that burden for weeks, then days, then hours, as the ancient threat had stirred and the fleets had followed. And now the ship asked him to decide its own fate. "You don't understand," Adam whispered aloud, though the ship could hear him perfectly. "If I make this choice, it will be permanent." The voice responded gently, "Correct. The choice belongs to the human presence." Adam exhaled slowly, leaning on the console, the lights reflecting in his tired eyes. He thought of all the humans whose memories he had glimpsed, their sacrifices, their restraint, their silence. They had walked away once, leaving the galaxy to grow without their shadow. Could he do the same? The crew watched him carefully. The captain stepped forward, wings folded, silent respect in every movement. "Human," he said, "whatever you choose, know that the galaxy will judge you, not by what you destroy, but by what you preserve." Adam swallowed hard. He felt the weight of every life, every star system, every fragile civilization in the galaxy pressing on him. He felt the presence of the ancient threat in the distance, still alive, still capable of overwhelming all who opposed it. And yet he also felt the unity of the fleets that had followed, not obedience, but understanding. The ship's gentle hum filled the room, as if giving him courage without words. Adam closed his eyes and thought of a simple truth: humans had always acted to protect, to hold, to endure without domination. That was why the ship had recognized him, why it had awakened after centuries of silence. It was not power it sought, it was restraint. It needed someone willing to carry the responsibility, but not to wield authority. He opened his eyes and looked at the crew. "I cannot stay," he said softly. "I cannot be what they want me to be forever. I'm human. I have limits. And the galaxy, it deserves to grow on its own." The captain inclined his head. The engineer's multiple arms trembled. Even the reptilian guard's jaws slackened slightly in understanding. The light being hovered closer, its glow steady. They all understood the gravity of his choice. Adam turned fully to the console. "Ship," he said firmly, "return to dormant mode. Stand vigilant. Protect life. No rulers. No masters. Let the galaxy decide for itself." The ship paused, longer than usual, as if considering the enormity of that declaration. Then it replied, "Human choice accepted. Operational mode, guardianship only. No autonomous rule. Presence maintained for balance, not control." Adam felt the tension in his body ease slightly. He exhaled, though exhaustion still threatened to buckle him. He had not abandoned the responsibility, he had fulfilled it. But he had not surrendered to the endless weight of absolute authority either. The room remained silent for a long moment. Outside, sensors showed fleets slowly dispersing, the distant civilizations finally absorbing the lesson without being forced. Adam realized that the ship's very presence had taught restraint, mercy, and patience to an entire galaxy, without destroying a single world. The humans had done the same centuries ago, and now he had honored them by continuing their work, not as a ruler, but as a witness, as a guardian who could step aside. "I will leave," he said quietly, "and let the galaxy carry on. I have done what I could." The ship's hum shifted, warmer this time, almost affectionate. Acknowledged. Human departure permitted. Historical continuity preserved. Adam stepped back from the console, his body heavy, his mind lighter than it had been in weeks. The crew looked at him, their eyes reflecting awe, relief, and a quiet reverence. He had not commanded an army. He had not destroyed an enemy. He had not ruled a civilization. Yet he had changed the galaxy more profoundly than any conqueror ever could. He realized, as he floated in the chamber, that this was the true meaning of power, not in the ability to dominate, but in the courage to step away when one could. The captain approached him last. "Human," he said, voice low, "you have done what few could, and what none would expect. You have proven that the galaxy can endure without gods. That it can hold itself together when guided, not ruled." Adam nodded, exhausted, a small smile on his lips. "Then it's time," he said, "for everyone to remember how fragile strength can be, and how strong restraint is." With that, he stepped away from the console. The ship's lights dimmed slowly, the hum settling into quiet vigilance. Adam turned toward the small shuttle waiting to take him away. He did not feel triumphant. He felt tired, human, and profoundly grateful. Outside the viewport, stars streaked past as he moved away from the ship, leaving it silent once more, awake only to watch and protect, not to rule. He carried no glory, no titles, only the quiet knowledge that he had honored the humans before him, and that their lesson would endure, even as he returned to ordinary life. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy could breathe, free from fear, under the silent guardianship of a ship that would awaken only when truly needed, guided forever by the memory of humans who chose mercy over dominion. The shuttle detached from the colossal ship with a quiet shudder, and Adam felt the emptiness around him as if the galaxy itself had exhaled. He was alone now, truly alone, though the hum of the ship lingered faintly in his mind, a gentle echo of presence, of vigilance, of a weight he had once carried and now left behind. He stared out at the endless stars stretching into darkness, each one a life, a civilization, a story. The galaxies he had seen only moments ago were now quiet, breathing in relief, free for the first time in centuries from the shadow of fear. Adam's hands rested on the shuttle controls, not from necessity, but from habit. His mind wandered, tracing the memories of the humans he had glimpsed, faces he had never seen, voices he had never heard, courage that had never faltered. They had walked away from power they could wield, from authority they could claim, leaving nothing but restraint behind. And now he had followed, stepping back from the ship, stepping back from the mantle they had carried alone. He felt tears prick his eyes, not from sorrow, but from awe, from understanding, from the weight of history pressed into a single human mind. The captain's voice came softly over the comms. "Human," he said, "you have done more than survive. You have preserved a legacy that was almost forgotten. The galaxy, it will remember you differently, and that is the burden you leave behind." Adam nodded, though his throat felt tight. He did not want remembrance. He did not want fame. He wanted the quiet knowledge that he had done what he could, that he had honored those who came before him. "I hope they remember themselves," he said softly. "And not me." The ship's voice whispered faintly in his thoughts, a comfort rather than command. Human presence complete. Legacy acknowledged. Autonomy restored. He exhaled slowly, feeling the tension in his body loosen for the first time. The synchronization had faded, leaving him fully human, fully fragile, yet somehow still connected, still part of a story centuries in the making. Adam allowed himself to lean back in his seat, closing his eyes, letting the hum of distant stars and the silent vigilance of the ship settle over him like a quiet lullaby. Memories of the ancient threat lingered at the edges of his mind, but now they were just shadows, aware yet held in check by a galaxy learning restraint, by fleets learning patience, by civilizations learning to endure without domination. Adam felt the enormity of it, the quiet triumph that required no celebration. The humans had chosen silence and mercy, and he had chosen to honor that choice. He had carried the weight, not for glory, but because it needed carrying. And now, he could finally let go. He looked out the viewport at a nebula blooming like a slow fire, colors shifting in time with distant starlight. He imagined the humans who had walked this same path centuries ago, choosing to disappear rather than rule, choosing to leave so the galaxy could grow. And he felt connected to them, though separated by generations and light years, a single thread linking courage, sacrifice, and restraint. The shuttle moved onward, small against the vastness of space. Adam felt the quiet hope of the galaxy brushing against him, fragile yet persistent, and he smiled faintly. The legend was awake, but it was no longer his burden alone. The ship would watch, protect, endure, and the galaxy would learn, slowly but surely, that power could exist without tyranny, that strength could exist without domination, that the human choice of mercy over conquest was the lesson worth remembering. Adam exhaled one last time and leaned back, finally allowing his mind to rest. He was tired, finite, and profoundly human. And in that humbling, fragile truth, he found peace. The galaxy was alive, free, and unshackled by fear. And somewhere far beyond the stars, the humans who had once carried the weight smiled silently in memory, knowing that their lesson had endured. The ship remained, silent yet vigilant, a guardian without a master, and Adam, just a human, moved forward into a universe that could now breathe. The story had ended, yet it had also begun. Not with conquest. Not with fire. But with restraint, mercy, and the courage to carry what was too heavy for anyone else. And in that quiet, unassuming bravery, the galaxy finally remembered what it meant to be truly free.